Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Amber. So some of you have known that I'm from Utah and that we just had an earthquake yesterday. I posted on Instagram about how to simplify your home so during a crisis like that, even though ours was mild compared to what other crises the rest of the world and countries have been through. It was still traumatic for a lot of us here in Utah because we had never experienced an earthquake in our lives and weren't necessarily prepared what that would feel like or how to help our families with dealing with that or our house. And so I have a video about my initial thoughts right after the earthquake. But today there's something I want to talk to you about regarding my daughter, Sophie. She has anxiety, childhood anxiety. She's only 5 years old. And many of you may have children that also suffer with this. And it can be very, very difficult as a parent to know what to do. It's also difficult for the children. They don't know how to express themselves. They don't know how to stop their fears. But it's very real. And so during the earthquake, she freaked out. And many kids who don't have anxiety also freaked out because it was new, and many adults may have freaked out, and that's okay. But what I have found today is that she's got lingering fear regarding the earthquake, and so I just wanted to share some of my tips that we have been doing and trying to work on with my daughter when she experiences her fears that have been difficult for her to cope with. So to give you an example, she has a bunk bed, a loft bunk bed, so her toys are underneath and she sleeps on top, and she's never had a problem. She loves the height. She likes climbing up there. She's a sensory kid, so she really enjoys using her toes on the ladder to get to the top. Never had a problem. But the earthquake happened while she was still on top of her bed. She had woken up. She just hadn't gotten off her bed yet. And that really scared her. And of course, I ran into her room and picked her up and took her to a safe place and calmed her down eventually. Well, we had an aftershock that happened soon after the original earthquake, but she was already sitting on my lap, and so that was fine for her. She was still really, really scared, and we still had to calm her down, but I was there. This third experience, which would be the second aftershock, happened while she was getting ready to take a nap, a rest. We make all of our kids still take a rest and a quiet time or a nap. And so she was back up on top of her bunk bed, and the aftershock was big enough that she could feel it, and again freaked out. And of course I came running. I was right there, picked her up, and cuddled with her until she could calm down. But then she was too scared. She now is associating that the top of her bunk bed triggers an earthquake. So she'll climb up there, she'll play up there, she'll grab her toys and blankets up there and back and forth, up and down, but she does not want to sleep up there. And so today during rest, we found her laying on her floor, and I asked her about it, and she said that she wanted to sleep on the floor, but she couldn't explain to me that it had to do with the earthquake. But because I know my daughter well enough, I believe that it has to do with the earthquake because of her past behaviors with past experiences. So that's what triggered me thinking about, do you guys experience these things with your children? How do you handle it? Do you have some tips and tricks you can share with me? Here's mine. So the first thing we have done with Sophie, once we figured out she's got some of these problems about her fears, and earthquakes is a big deal, but she gets scared over other things that I can't predict. So, example, we were out hiking in the woods up in our mountains, and the kids love it. We've gone a bunch of times, never had a problem. This one particular time we went up there was a little squirrel, and everybody was excited. He was sitting on a rock, and the kids were playing with it, just watching it from a distance. Well, the squirrel had some kind of nut or something and was eating it. So we're like, oh, that's so cute. And then something happened that the squirrel got startled and jumped, and made this weird squirrel sound, which I had never heard of. It's like this weird clicking sound kind of thing. And then he ran back into his little burrow space and was, safe. So, normal reaction from my twins, who are only a year younger than Sophie. They're laughing and kind of jumped like, whoa, he startled me. Sophie had a full-fledged panic attack. She was standing on a rock. She leaped at me, which luckily I was close enough that she caught me, but I wasn't watching her. I was watching the squirrel, and I wasn't prepared that she was just going to be like leaping onto me. And then she climbed off me and began running down the mountain. I mean, and she's screaming as though it was a life or death situation. And I had to catch her and hold her, and she really, really had a hard time calming down. So you can kind of plan for like maybe a fire drill. Earthquake would be scary for most kids, but some of these weird anxiety things that hit her, I can't plan for. She's not scared of heights. She's not scared of water. She's not scared of, scary monsters in mass, but she's scared of a smoke machine. So I can't always plan, is what I'm saying. And maybe you as a parent can't always plan either. So these are things that we've been starting really, really young, when she was about 2 years old, and we started noticing some of these big issues. The first one we do is called calm counting. So we tell her what we want her to do. We want her to be calm, which means to not cry, not run, not freak out, have a calm body, calm her heart. She has a hard time taking deep breaths when she's in that state. So even though deep breaths can help calm kids down, for Sophie, no matter how many times I'm trying to say, take a deep breath, do it with me, she can't do it. She's too wrapped up. She can't do it. So we call it calm counting. So I tell her, I need you to be calm. Do you want 8 or 10 counts? And she can pick. And sometimes I change it if I think she can calm down faster. I'll say, do you want a 5 or an 8? Something like that. And then she'll pick, depending on how scared she is or how freaked out she is. Then she's responsible to calm her own body down. So I'll do 8, calm, 7, calm, 6, calm. So actually, by saying the calm in between each number, I've actually given her a longer length of time to calm her body down. But I'm also reiterating what I want her to do. I need her to calm her body down. And then at the very end, I'll say, all done. And then she'll stop, and we'll try to talk about it. Now, when she was little, this didn't always work. She didn't want to be done. And she would say, no, not done. And she wanted to keep freaking out. And we would continue to say, we did your calm counting. You need to be done. When she was really, really little, like 2 when we were first starting, we would count twice. So we might do the series 2 times to help calm her down. But now we're at a point where we can tell her, Sophie, you need to do your calm numbers. And she will count to herself. Sometimes she goes forward, so 1 calm, 2 calm, up to 10. Her siblings try to help her with it too. So this is just something that has helped in certain situations. Not all of them, but a lot of them have helped for her to take control over her own body. So that's why we do that. Also, we try not to talk about the situation at that very moment, because that will just rev her back up. So once she's calm, we tell her, thank you for being calm, give her lots and lots of cuddles and hugs. And that's important for her to, again, to feel safe, to feel grounded, that to feel like it's okay to be scared. And we try to reiterate it. We don't want her to be punished. We don't want her to think we're mad at her for being scared. If she could control it, she would have controlled it. She can't. We need to help her learn these coping skills. So we try to reassure that, especially like, it's okay to be scared. Mommy was scared. You can still be brave even if you're scared. And by following directions and sitting on my lap, that was being very brave even though you were scared. So we do different techniques like that to try to reaffirm to her that it's okay if you have these feelings, but it's also really important for your safety that you listen and obey and follow our directions so we can keep you safe during your scary times. The other thing we like to do is we like to do third person role play. So Sophie has had a speech problem for a long time, and she's in speech therapy. So that makes it hard for her to communicate what she's afraid of. Like I said, she couldn't say, I'm too afraid to go on my bed because the earthquake might come back. She just says, I want to sleep on the floor. So I have to fill in the dots sometimes, and that could be really tricky. So sometimes by taking that fear away from her and putting it inside one of her toys, she can talk about it a little bit easier. So I know that sometimes this happens in therapy with a childhood therapist. They do little games and play. They call it play therapy because it's too hard sometimes for kids to relate it to themselves. They don't want to feel all those feelings all the time. It's too heavy. But they can talk about it when it's something else going through it. So Sophie loves Paw Patrol. So we take her Sky or her Everest. Those are little characters, little doll Paw Patrol pup stuffed animals. And we'll say, Sky is really scared right now. What do you think she should do? And Sophie will try to talk to Sky about different techniques she could do to calm herself down. Some of them she's learned from our family and practicing with her. And some of it she just does things on her own that she's learned by herself. So sometimes we'll say, you know what, Everest looks like she's scared of earthquakes. That's okay, Everest. You can be scared of earthquakes, but I still need you to sleep on your bed because if an earthquake comes back, Mommy will know where you're at so I can pick you up and cuddle with you when the earthquake comes. So if we say these things to Everest or to Sky, many times that gives Sophie some power to pretend that she can be brave, to pretend that she's protecting Everest and Sky from their fears, to pretend like she's brave and can do it. And many times that works, and she can regroup and recope, and everything's fine, and she's back to her homeostasis pattern. So a lot of times we'll do third-party things. The other thing we do is we do role play that's not involving third party. So at school, Sophie has this really big fear of the fire drill. And so we role play at home where there's no fire drill, no noises. We try and make it fun. So we'll pull out all the pots and pans and try and make the loudest noise ever. And she'll laugh and play about it. And then we say, oh my goodness, that is so loud. What should we do? And then we can plug our ears, and different things like that as we're walking to our safe zone or safe spot. So that way Sophie is the one that's making the noise, so she knows it's not so scary. So we can role play that way to prepare in case something at school happens where she has a fire drill. Even though it's not exactly the same, it still puts something in her head to try to prepare her to cope with something that might be coming in the future. The other thing with the earthquake is that after the initial two, the earthquake and the first aftershock, she took her Barbies and she was trying to role play with her Barbies. This is where we stand. We stand under the door frame. This is where we go, under the table. And then she called her grandma and told her, we hide under the desk at school. I did that at school. So even though at home we had never talked about an earthquake and what we should do here at home if there's an earthquake, at school they had to practice, and she was able to kind of use that later in her calming down period. So the initial fear, when she realized, okay, I can stand up, I can walk, I'm not going to fall over, it's not going to shake again, she was able to say, oh, I did this already. I did this at school. We went under our desk. We had to wait. We had to hold on to our desk legs. So she was able to talk about it, which brought her calming down period really fast. So a lot of times when she was little, it would take minutes and minutes and minutes. I'm talking about like 15, 20 minutes and sometimes longer to get her over her initial fear and calm down. This time, within 5 minutes or less, because like I said, it was back to back between the earthquake and the first aftershock. So it's hard to gauge how long it really took her to calm down. But she did. She calmed down really quickly, relatively speaking, and was able to try to, teach her brothers what we do at school and teach her Barbies what we do at home. So she was able to associate one situation to another. And over time, we're hoping that those coping strategies could increase throughout the situations that she's going to experience, and without us having to constantly remind her or model what that would look like. So I'm really proud of her. I mean, she's trying really hard. She's 5 and can't quite get herself to be like, oh, this is over and done with. But, you know, even as adults, sometimes we still feel a bit worried. I'm going to bed, I'm having a dream, the bed's shaking, you know, but I have the skills to cope with that. And so that's what I'm trying to give Sophie, is the skills to cope with that, and to know that no matter what situation we come in life, that we can be strong enough, even if we're scared, to handle it. So the other thing is we constantly remind her what her safe zone is. Her mom, her dad, her blanket, her grandma, her teacher, you know, her stuffed animal, these things that she can go and give big hugs to no matter what. We take hugs all day long. We love it. So those are just a few of my tricks. We have a lot that we use all the time, that just we integrate into our family life to come naturally when it comes to Sophie. But surprisingly, the things that I've prepared for, like our big trip to France, if you want to watch my videos about that, she didn't get scared at all. We did not have a single freak out on the airplane, on security, on the train, on the bus, on, where else? The rides at Disneyland. I mean, there was very few, but I prepared for a whole lot. So I'm really proud of her. She's come a really long way, and I just want to say good luck to all of you guys. Help your children. Have lots of patience with them as they try to master their own minds and their own actions and bodies. And we'll catch you in my next video. Bye.